Alright. Accidentally screwed up the sort of intro process there. I usually hit record and then have about 5 seconds of leeway to get into full screen. Granted, I usually, leave the mouse up so I can actually see the recording button right here, but I accidentally clicked minimize instead of full screen, so that's kind of irrelevant though. Oh, there's, for whatever reason, the cursor's not. Okay, there we go. Yeah, but obviously, as I've said, I plan on doing doubles. That's the reason why I put Insurgents on hold, so I could specifically finish this mod, right? We're actually at a really interesting position, and I say that a lot, but this is likely the most interesting position in the whole mod, right? Because all this harkens back to sort of, I guess, the main general principles regarding the mod. The mod's really split up into two parts. You have Monica and Yuri's parts, or routes, considering they have, or given that they have considerable overlap in, what would you call it? Given that they have considerable overlap and, there's another term I used, I don't know. And then you have the other part of the mod, which is Sayori and Natsuki's part, and given that they have considerable overlap as well. Those are effectively two parts of the mods. Those, like, sort of two routes and how they're tied and coincide or whatnot, given the overlap. I think that was the term I meant to use, coincide. Because, yeah, the mods basically, as opposed to looking at 4 separate routes, you can look at it in that way, right? Like, split right down the middle between Monica and Yuri and Sayori and Natsuki. But going off of this, following from that, we know, after the first ending, we know that there's 10 endings in the mod. 10 total endings. And we know in the Monica and Yuri routes, sort of that part of the mod, that half of the mod, right? There were 5 endings. So then we're obviously stating, look, there's likely 5 endings. Well, we know now that there's 5 endings for the other half as well, right? So the endings are also split among the parts as well. It really is it's almost like you're playing 2 separate mods, right? You have the one mod with, the considerable overlap in sort of coinciding between Monica and Yuri's route, and then the other half with Natsuki and or the other mod with Sayori and Natsuki. It really is almost playing two separate mods. But then following from that is also, it's sort of how the endings are divided within each part, right? Within the part of the mod that's Monica and Yuri's route, Monica's route has 3 endings. Granted, 2 of them are just different perspectives of the same ending, right? And Yuri's is obviously she only gets 2, right? So for that half of the mod, it was effectively just a good and bad ending per route. So I think my mistake was taking that and applying it to the other half or other part of the mod, Sayori and Natsuki's part, right? I assumed, it's likely going to follow the same good and bad ending per route principle. Just there would likely be multiple perspectives on one of the route, kind of like with the Monica bad ending, right? Given that there were 2 endings, but the only difference it made were, showcasing the different perspectives, right? So it was effectively one ending, I would say. Just 2 different perspectives, which technically counts as 2 endings. So I figured the Sayori Natsuki part, or half of the mod, would follow the good and bad ending sort of principle, right? Where there'd be 1 good and 1 bad ending per route. I think that was my mistake. Because obviously, given the choice, we have, that's clearly not the case. Looking at, okay, I realized the volume was super low. Looking at Sayori's route, obviously these are the 3 choices we make, right? This is the choice whether to stick on Sayori's route, or to stay on Sayori's route, or to jump ship to Natsuki's route. This is obviously the choice of, this is what I initially thought was the determiner between the good and bad ending, right? The first choice is whether you stay on the route or jump ship. The second choice, determines the good or bad ending. That's what I initially thought, given sort of the other part or half of the mod. However, given we have another choice now, this is clearly, and also, just to say, as opposed to the Monica bad ending, right? Because this is the Monica bad ending, where, like, each of these perspectives is technically its own ending. But it's clearly, you know, a perspective, right? It's clearly a perspective, so ultimately, you know, it leads to the same ending. However, this is clearly not a perspective choice, right? Granted, it's also funny because it's the same music. It's clearly not a perspective choice. Justice, obviously, he kills himself. Survival, obviously, he doesn't, right? So that raises some interesting questions, sort of regarding Sayori's route, right? So I was kind of salty before, but I think this is really interesting. I think this is interesting. There's sort of, I guess, a couple questions. Because, again, obviously, you know, Justice, he kills himself. For survival, he survives. But then it comes back to this choice, right? The question is, okay, like, you know, is Sayori's death an inevitability? Is Sayori's death inevitable on her own route? Because let's say we click just keep talking out. I think either one of two things. Either it loops back to here and that choice really didn't make a difference. Or just keep talking it out leads to the bad ending. And we're actually on the track for a potential good ending. Because what I'm saying is, okay, why would both of these lead to a bad ending? I don't think that makes sense. I think, if anything, Sayori's death was an inevitability, and that this leads to some sort of bad ending. While seeing a doctor, obviously, although Sayori's death is along the way, we now have the option for sort of a good ending in Sayori's route. Obviously, if the MC survives, right? Justice, he obviously dies. Or, as opposed to posing it as, you know, a good route and sort of two bad endings, right? You know, I don't know. It's honestly interesting. I think the question is, A, whether Sayori's death is an inevitability, whether she dies on sort of this route, and B, whether this route, or sort of this option, just keep talking it out, ends up leading to here regardless. Just sort of the events that transpire different. And then if that's not the case, you know, whether, if her death is an inevitability, whether this is in fact the bad route, and sort of the true good or bad ending for Sayori's route comes as a result of this choice. I think this is really interesting. This is the most interesting part of the game, I'd easily say. Or the entire mod. I think this is, what, part 51 or 52? So I've spent a lot of time on this, right? I'm saying this is easily the most interesting part. Obviously, we're clicking survival here. I think, honestly, this isn't a perspective choice, definitely. This, what I think determines the true, like, the good or bad ending on Sayori's route, and that ultimately her death is an inevitability. That's my prediction. What I'm predicting is that this doesn't, in fact, loop back here. I don't think picking just keep talking it out will loop back here, mainly because obviously all the events that transpired with the bottom option, but also because then there would be no real point, right? I think clicking this will lead to a bad ending, and I think seeing a doctor is necessary for this choice, and that ultimately, you know, one of these two will determine the good ending, because it doesn't really make sense for both of these to lead to the same outcome, right? Especially given they're later than that. So I think survival leads to the good ending, justice leads to the bad ending, and the top option also leads to a bad ending, and that, you know, Sayori's death was basically an inevitability, right? That needed to happen on her own route. So obviously we click survival. A wave of doubt hits me. You wouldn't want this. Living is hard every day, but I know you're watching over me. It's gonna be hard, but I'll keep living for you. Let's see. So, really? Chapter 6, Dawn. Okay, so, I was like, is it really gonna end there? I can't do this to you again. You deserve better. Okay, okay, so this is officially, you know, after we make the decision. Because I was like, is it really gonna end there? Like, I should have just done that in the previous part then. The night is silent. I need to go home. It's raining. I pick up my bag with all contents I came with inside. Turn towards the city. I go home. Is he gonna die? It's like raining. And he's like apparently like 4 hours out from the city, right? The long walk back seemed longer than what it took to get there. By the time I get there, it's 8:30. It was a 4-hour walk. How come it's like, okay, 8:30 in the morning? I forgot, because, you know, he was there at like 4 a.m., right? So I was about to say, why is it, light at 8:30 p.m., but it's not. It's 8:30 a.m. Come on to a road I don't usually go to. Who is it? It's Monica. I was wondering if you want to come with me on a nature walk. Okay, so this is clearly, just some sort of rehabilitation, right? Because it's fairly, I think this is what? I think this is like a week or two after Sayori's death, I'm pretty sure. I know life has been tough. Yeah, it is, these past few weeks, and I want to help. Feel my heartache and surge at the same time. I want to see my friend, but I don't want her to see me. Listen, that's a her problem, right? So, in the end, I decide that my friend deserves to know that I'm okay. Yeah, that's, what it comes down to, right? Alright, I'll go. I'm headed there now. Meet me in the forest. Is it the same forest? I look back up to the world around me. It's quiet. Can't keep her waiting. He's gonna, conk out. He has, zero sleep. Look around and see nobody. Monica? Over here. She appears out of nowhere. Literally out of nowhere, but I'm happy to see her. What is it? He's literally been up all night, and, he looks like shit, right? He looked terrible, MC. I did just walk about 12 miles. He did. He literally walked for 8 hours straight. I guess I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Just one of those days. Then again, that's happened a lot recently. I can see that's still fresh on your mind, unfortunately. MC, you know we're all here for you, right? Yes. Just some days I think about it more than I usually do. Makes me think about all the things I did wrong. We all did something to make that situation worse. Because again, we know Monica knew about, her issues and problems. Why is there no music anyway? Yeah, there's okay, it's just static. Because I heard something about, yeah, because she knew about Sayori's issues and problems before the MC even did. So it's she's got some stake in this as well, right? I'd say even Natsuki and Yuri both feel bad as well, but Monica, especially out of those three, she feels bad as well, right? That doesn't give us the reason to pout. What do you mean? She used to tell me that it's not what's at the end of the road that draws us to it. It's who we find on the way that keeps us going. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Basically a revamp of that quote. That's very poetic of Sayori. That's why it stuck with me. I look around at the beautiful environment. Oh, I was about to say, because, this mod is probably, out of all the mods I play, has had the biggest issue with spelling. So any big words, I'm just, waiting to call it out for a spelling error. Environment was spelled correctly, though, so she would have loved this. She's literally been here, right? Their dream sequences were here. But I'm convinced she's not missing it. Monica looks at me with a worried expression. She's still here, in all of us. I can't hear her voice anymore. But I can still see her working through all of us. You could hear her voice before? Oh, I guess when she was alive. Or maybe, immediately after she passed, right? If he had dream sequences, more of them or whatnot. She gave us life, reasons to get up. You taught us to see a good in life. Convinced that she's still here in that regard. Monica smiles genuinely at my remark. I can tell it's still, you'd think it's the bigger words that they misspell, right? But no, it's literally, the short words that they still end up misspelling, right? Let's see, nobody gets over, literally one back-to-back, these kinds of things in a few short weeks. But if we live in remembrance of her rather than in spite, we'll see her everywhere we go. Even though it may not be physically, she would want us to see a good in everything. Yeah. What is this static? She's the good in everything. The world still seems good, so she's still here. Somewhere. A light breeze blows, providing a cool relief to the heat of the sun. Still takes a toll on all of us, though. Natsuki hasn't talked much. I don't even think Yuri's left her house. 3 weeks? She needs to eat, right? I don't blame them. I really didn't want to even get up today. Well, he didn't even go sleep, right? So there's... Yeah, but yeah, I was saying, because especially Monica out of the three, all three of the girls are upset, right? But ultimately, Monica, she also has some stake in this, right? As well as the MC. So it's not, only him, right? So... Sorry if I woke you up. We were the MC literally was never asleep. No, I was up around 4. I just couldn't fall back asleep. He was up at freaking 12:30 and he walked to the woods. I had trouble sleeping too. It's just something only time can fix, no matter how painful. Time's a terrible thing, but at the same time it's amazing. How is it terrible? If not, you'd just be frozen in place. It can run short and take someone from us. But at the same time, it can give us the best memories of our lives. Time just gets away from us. I know a person that'd call time a bittersweet thing. Who is it? And I wish I could hear her say it. Monica looks me dead in the eyes, catching my drift. MC. I feel tears going down my face once again. I'm gonna be fine. I made her a promise. I just gotta let time do its bittersweet thing, right? Because in the end, we still have lives to live. And she wouldn't want us to live them. And she would want us to live them to their fullest. Full of love, happiness, and in remembrance of her. because she taught us was need to live a full life, and we should never forget that. And never should. That's like what's going on? Is that the end? Oh my God, it is the end. So, cause the all the endings have a poem, right? The routes end with a poem. Each ending gets its own poem, right? Like, so this is the actual final poem. I thought the poem that he was gonna read of Sayori in the hospital is the final poem, but no, this is the final one, right? That he's writing to her. Sayori, I know you'll never read this, but I'm still writing it anyway. I know you're gone. I think about you that every single day. But I still see you in everyday life, acting through all of us. Your happiness, sunshine, silliness don't fade. Is that how you spell silliness? The light in this world is because of you. I see its light every day, and I think of you. I used to walk this road with you, and now I walk for you. Okay, because that's the ending, right? Like, yeah, that's the ending. Hold on. Because, yeah, each route ends with a poem. Daylight ending. Because, yeah, I need to write these down. I'm keeping track, so just because there's so many, right? 10? Like, I mean... Like, okay, so this is the first ending we've gotten for the Sayori route. So, daylight ending. It'll be interesting because we'll be able to see all three eventually, right? And then we'll be able to say, oh, sort of, which were the ideal and which were the unideal. Because I don't think it's as easy as sort of good, bad. Like, I don't think that's the case for... That was sort of my mistake, right? Assuming it would be that way for Sayori's route, right? That was my mistake, right? Given that, you know, not Monika's and Yuri's routes, like, I have all of them pulled up. Like, the Monika route, the good ending was the dreamscape ending, right? Obviously, you know, that entailed them getting together and Sayori being there as well. And then the bad endings were the Too Far Gone and Lost Time ending, which it was the same ending, just two different perspectives, but it were technically made up two different endings, right? Those were the bad endings for Monika route. So the Monika route had the good and bad sort of dichotomy, right? Then the Yuri route, you had the good ending, which was the happy memories ending, right? Like, that was, you know, the MC ended up with Yuri, they fixed their problems, they dealt with Libitina, and, you know, the club was still a thing in the end, right? And then you had the Alone Again ending, where I'm pretty sure who ends up dying? They do both die, actually. They both die, right? As to where only the MC dies in the Monika route, bad ending. Both the MC and Yuri die in, the, you know, her bad ending, right? So, her good ending is, in a sense, better than Monika's good ending, and her bad ending is, in a sense, worse than Monika's, you know, bad ending, right? That's kind of how it goes. But both of those two routes had this sort of dichotomy. It's like the good ending and the bad ending. I don't think it's that way for Sayori's route. Just throwing that out there, given that it appears that, okay, there's three different endings, right? Likely, given sort of three different choices. And unless, like, I can show it actually, hold on. Unless sort of the option to stick and talk with Sayori, oversee a doctor, somehow leads back to that choice, which wouldn't really make sense. I think that leads to its own ending, which is likely a bad ending, given, oh, why would you make that the good ending, right? And then ultimately have these sort of two completely different choices on a bad ending, almost determining, you know, sort of two, like, you're on the bad ending. It just determines which bad ending you get, right? That doesn't make sense. But again, I don't think it's that simple, right? I don't think it's, like, dichotomous, like prior. So it'll be interesting to see. That was certainly a better ending over the MC just offing himself, right? I mean, because, you know, the other, especially, like, that interaction with Monika was important, because it showed that, you know, okay, everyone else still cared about him, right? I mean, okay, I don't think I can skip past this, right? So, I think I can do this and force it. Oh, no, I can't. Or somewhat, yeah. This is going to be the 6th time I've gotten this, like, this message, right? So, yeah, bad ending. And I guess the reason why I got the whole good and bad ending to begin with, right, was this. I thought it was clear-cut, sort of dichotomous. You know, each route has a good ending, each route has a bad ending. I think Sayori's route's more complicated than that. I don't want to say that this was a good ending. I don't want to say just yet. I think I need to figure out everything else in order to determine whether it's a good or bad ending, right? I think it's preferable, because again, the question is, you know, is Sayori's death inevitable? Like, does she... Because there's so many questions about this sort of top option, right? Because if it loops back to here, then her death is inevitable. But if its own ending and it's a bad ending, then she likely dies as well, right? And then I think it makes more sense for this to be a bad ending than a good ending. Because if, you know, the question is, the question is, you know, why would these both lead to bad endings. Because we know survival was, I'd say it's bittersweet as the MC put it, right? But yeah, I don't think, maybe this is, honestly, looking at it, because, hold on, I just want to confirm something. I'm pretty sure the MC just offs himself with survival, or justice, yeah, right? We should see that, right? I can't live knowing I took your life. I mean, he didn't really take her life, she took her own life, but is it gonna go? Like, are we gonna hear it? I close my eyes, taking the revolver with my right hand. He's like, oh, no ammo. I put it to my temple. My hand's trembling. That's actually like, if you wanna, actually no, let's not go down that route, right? Conversation, but the gun stays where it is. I'm coming, Sayori. Can he even pull the trigger? What's like the weight of the trigger, right? All of you, okay? And please, forgive me. Is he gonna do it? Rip MC. Because, like, we know he's, well, obviously he's dead, right? Like, there's no chance he survives. And then, Chapter 6 reunion. Okay, so, what's going on now then, right? I mean, so, I just thought it was going to immediately end, right? You know, MC dies, Rip game, like, route ended, bad ending, like, but it's going on, right? So the question is, what's going to happen? This is it. Subconscious, you threw it all away in hopes of seeing her again. Okay, of course the subconscious survives. You paid a great price. Was it worth it? In the next life, you don't have me. Oh, not the subconscious. So just think about that as you go, because I won't be there to hound you about it. Because we know the afterlife is a prevalent thing, given sort of the bad ending for Monica's route, right? Everything that happened involving that. So I guess this is our fork in the road. See you around. Okay, bye, subconscious. Rock your lover hero. Bye, subconscious. Get out of here. Like, leave. He was the best character in the mob, by the way. Why isn't anything happening? You're going to hell, bro. You committed suicide. He's going to hell. I'm dead. You're going to hell. So why the hell do I only see black? You're in hell. She's in heaven. Like, his one assumption was he'd see her, right? But that only implies, you know, he makes it to the same afterlife, right? This feels tingly. Oh, yeah, you know, this is just the usual. Okay, what are we seeing? I'm blinded by a terribly bright light. What? Where am I? I look around. I see nothing but white. Hello? My voice doesn't echo. Nothing's hurt. Is this how it all ends? The space around me seems to just be empty. This is your own reality, right? This can't be it. Sadness wells up inside of me. I feel something, like a gust of warm wind hit me. Strange voice, you are lost. Is this the exact same sort of... Because no, what happened in this was ultimately the MC rode the train into the light, and then it ended there. But this, he's a part of the light, but it's different, right? It's not the end, and this is, again, saying he's lost. But can you be found? Oh no, it's just this theme. That was just stuff outside. Who's there? Who is this? God? How'd you get here? It's like, what are you doing here? Like, where are... Only the dead come here. He's dead. I am dead. But why... But by what means? Suicide. Hell. Suicide. Such a waste of life. Is like, hell. I just want to... My word stopped short of the end of my thought. It seems that you don't know why you did this. I know why I did. Then what was it? What required your life as a price? Justice. I took someone's life through my own stubbornness. That's actually how you spell stubbornness. I brought myself to justice. A weighty price. Did this life have any meaning to you? The one you took? Life I took was everything I had. I was nothing when this person left. But now, I don't know if I'm any better. You're not. Because it was assuming a noble cause, but a risky bet. It is, like, he's betting that he somehow can see her, right? It seems that you can't find what you're looking for. Feel presence behind me. It's because he's not looking in the right places. We're really having an afterlife interaction right now. Her voice brings overwhelming joy to me. She's not going to be happy, dog. Like, it's just, she's not going to be happy that, you know, he just threw away his life, right? She'd rather him live out his life normally than see him after that, right? Like, what? I turn around and see what I came here for. Sayori. Why? Yeah, she's like roasting him. Like, she's actually, like, breaking down that he, like, actually killed himself. Why'd you come? You still had a life. Sayori, a life without you isn't worth living to me. I felt a void that couldn't be filled, and I gave in. I couldn't fight anymore. I made you. I chose to do this. You didn't do anything. She also chose to do her part, right? You know, these two committed suicide, like, on their own volition. After coming here and seeing your face one more time, I'll regret losing my body, but I'll never regret finding you again. But well, I guess, yeah, because even if he's banished to hell for, like, eternity, he still had this last interaction, right? Even if it came at this cost. I gave everything I had, even my life. And you were here, waiting for me. I think she was just, like, summoned here, right? She wasn't here to begin with. If I knew that before I went, I'd do it all again. She doesn't say anything, but seems to be moved by my words. I'd still be angry, right? I can't say this was the right choice. I'd still be angry. I'm like, yo, I could have waited 60, 70 years for you, right? However old you live, right? Like, you know, I could have waited that long. I'd rather see them actually live out a life. Like, it wasn't. Nope. But I know now that I truly loved... Wait, what? Because, yeah, he's like, it's not worth it. I can't say this was the right choice. It wasn't. But now know that I truly love Sayori. And that will never change. It's going to end? Sayori, not even death could keep us apart. I'm sorry that it cost us this much. It cost me everything to stray from my path. I found you waiting there when I came. Thank you. So this sort of confirmed what I was saying. United. United what? Okay, writing it down. Let's see. Hold on. I'm just going to also add. So Dreamscape ending was good ending, right? Yeah, the Dreamscape ending for the Manka route was the good ending, right? It was the Too Far Gone Lost Time that were the bad endings, right? Like, it was actually the same ending but different perspectives. Which is different from this, which is just two completely different endings, right? So, Happy Memories ending for Yuri route was good ending, right? So, again, I'm keeping track because, you know, there are so many in this mod so long. We're not even done yet. Like, we still have one more route to go, right? And then the Alone Again ending was the bad ending for Yuri route. Here's what I'm going to say. Because here's what I was wondering about. Because I was saying, oh, if you pick, you know, continue talking with her, that likely leads to a bad ending. And then ultimately her death was inevitable. And that the Daylight ending was the good ending to come from that. And ultimately, obviously, the Unite ending where the MC offs himself is the bad ending which comes as a result from that. But I don't think it's that obvious. I think if anything... You know, her death may not be inevitable. I think talking to her may generally be a good ending where she doesn't die. And that the Daylight ending is sort of a neutral ending where she dies but the MC sort of lives on in the club and like the rest of the girls continue on, right? And obviously the United ending like is the bad ending, right? I mean, they both just throw their lives away. So you only get one, right? You get infinite time in the afterlife. They're saying how time's a bad thing, right? You know, once it's forever, right? Like, time's forever in the afterlife, you know. You get, what, 70, 80 years, assuming you live a normal life, to do something with it, right? Like, after that, you know, you get infinite time in the afterlife. Like, it's... Okay, so... Bad ending. Because... I think it's genuinely interesting. I don't think the Sayori route's that obvious, right? It's not that clear cut where it's a good and bad ending. I think if anything, it's more like tiers or layers. Obviously, the Daylight ending was more desirable than the United ending. But I think the Daylight ending is more neutral ending where, yes, she dies, but everyone else continues on. The United ending, the MC meets her, but then the repercussions are, it's like, okay, what happens to the R3? They probably just are devastated, destroyed, right? And then I genuinely think, you know, I don't know what to click. Because here's the thing, right? Can I see? There we go. Because I was going to say, now, given that there was sort of a more neutral or a bad ending, right? We can effectively say the United ending was the least desirable ending, and that the Daylight ending was more neutral ending. I think that means this top one is, in fact, a good ending. Because I was thinking of it before in terms of, like, oh, I don't think this loops back here, but I think her death is inevitable, given sort of, I guess, survival would seem like the good ending, right? And that would kind of imply her death was inevitable. So this must lead to a bad ending, and that ultimately survival is a good ending, right? The ideal ending, and justice is another bad ending, right? But I think survival is a more neutral take. Now, sort of seeing how this played out, I think survival is a more neutral take, and that, which leads to the Daylight ending, right? And I think whatever comes as a result of talking it out is, in fact, the good ending, right? I think the Sayori route has a good, neutral, and bad ending, as opposed to solely a good and bad ending, right? With the survival... the Daylight ending ultimately being the neutral ending. I think that was just me screwing up, right? I think I clicked the wrong option here. Because I genuinely picked the options that I think would lead to a good ending, right? So, like, looking at the Monica sort of decision, I clicked the top thinking it's like... because the bottom's just like, this is a useless mute point, right? But this is almost in defense of everyone else, right? saying that, oh, they likely had reasons, as opposed to sort of feeding into Monica's sort of reasoning, or sort of her, I guess what would you call it, perception of them kind of ignoring her, right? This at least sort of implies otherwise, right? And then looking at the Yuri ending, I think this was obvious choice, right? You got to focus on yourself more than you like before you focus on others, right? And that did come to fruition. So this, and also going back to Monica's route, so yeah, this top option was what led to the good ending. I was right on that one. And then, oh, what did I click? And then this option, the bottom option, the focus on yourself, did lead to a good ending, like I predicted. I think I had it wrong on this. I think I genuinely had it wrong. I think keep talking it out is genuinely the good ending, and then I was wrong by clicking this, thinking this would lead to a good ending. I was thinking keep talking it out would lead to something similar to, I think it would lead to something similar to this, right? Where finding Yuri was in fact the bad ending, as opposed to upping ourselves. I thought it would be something similar here, where you see a doctor and then fix it out, as opposed to this. This leads to a bad ending, this leads to a good ending, right? Sort of a cutting your losses type mentality, but I think that's not the case. I think this has got to be the good ending, the top one, right? Given that the survival was a more neutral ending and the justice was a bad one, right? I'd say that's a bad one, right? Like 2 lives wasted. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna end that here. So those were those 2 endings, right? I figured I could get them both in one part. Now I'll click keep talking out, see what happens there. I may be able to finish that in the next part. So yep, I guess that's it for this one. See you in the next one.